Hey everyone, this is Tracy Lewis with Stuff and Things. It is Paper Pumpkin time. This is the holiday kit, the card kit for the year. It is called Cozy Christmas. I will zoom you in a little closer. Normally not that far away. And that way we can see all the parts and pieces clearly. We've got the stamp set, which I will get the artwork for, red tissue, which I will save for possible gift-giving purposes this year. And let's get this open. I can see it's a red dominant kit. I don't think I've ever seen big red sequins before in a Stampin' Up! Kit. I hope everyone is having a good month and that your fall weather has cooled off if you're in a hot area like me. It is wonderful to actually be chilly periodically. Alright, so we do have our red sequins and we have dimensionals and double-sided adhesive dots as well as tear and tape. The envelopes might be a little too close. I don't have room to move. That is better. Envelopes, all the same. You can break them apart. I would prefer the rounded to the V so that I would get a thicker swath of this little pecan pie edging with the sort of artsy snowflake. And then we have some nice basic beige and white canvas texture, so that could be used for something. It looks like, let's see, how many cards do I see here? 3 of each design for a total of 9. You can't tell maybe, but there is this a little pattern. Looks like dots on this very dark cherry cobbler white core. A lovely artsy green, Art Deco looking to me. 3 of them. So right there I've got enough for 12 cards. We have some, these labels look like they are outlined for a stamped sentiment, and I will find the artwork and we will review the stamps. So we've got 4 of these labels and then 4 rectangles. We have an outline of the word joy, 4 of them. Makes me wonder if they're giving us 1 extra if we have 3 of each design. Oh, and that's kind of cute. I will show you this in a second. There's probably another part to this because none of our stamps are this big. So that clearly is going to spell the word joy. And this is red velvet. 3D velvet. So there's 4 of those. 3 pecan pie rectangle pieces. They're white core, so they could be cut in half to stretch, as well as embossed and then sanded and all of the good texture things. So it even looks like I see there's white with the same size. So this is predominantly white with a little bit of basic beige speckling. So that could be cut in half. These are a very large frame with the little corners, so if you wanted to stretch this, you could possibly find smaller die cuts if you wanted to find something in your stash that has an interesting shape. You could almost get 2 of each out of these. We have some velvet stars. Ooh, so be careful of these. That's very delicate. It was turned because it was already popped out. And then that is velvet. And then the third card base is the same as the envelopes. All right, now to get into these die cuts, they are indeed all velvet. We're going to construct some things. I see some pieced together layered bits. Here I am in a different location, and I have this table runner. And because of the nature of these pieces, I'm going to flip the table runner away so we have a good, solid colored, contrasting area to show the different pieces. I was taking apart the green sheet, so we have that piece. Another ornament layer, because here is the red ornament, and again mine is bent here, so I'm going to have to be really careful with that. Okay. I have a couple of ornament dies, so if I wanted to extend this kit further, I might go check out my dies that have big ornaments with the little tops that usually I'll do like in gold. This piece looks suspiciously like a tree. Pretty sure it's a tree. We're gonna put it together. The patterns are quite bold, so there's your tree. Okay, so those are those pieces. Here's the joy. Let's bring out joy here. I kind of like this surface that I chose to sit at. My main desk is covered because I am doing a Christmas card class coming up here, and I have stuff going on and bits and pieces everywhere. So I'm sitting where I typically color. All right, there's the J. So for me, I would be popping these up. The dimensionals that we get, I don't remember their full size. If they're full size, you can cut them in half, which I always cut the full size ones in half. That is a trick I learned years ago. When I first started out, that's what the demonstrator that I went to her classes, she would always have the dimensionals cut in half. Very rarely do you have something big enough that you need. So that is cherry cobbler and real red. If you are seeing that, I see that as well. Then we have this funny doodad that actually, I'm going to just say, this is the top of the ornament. So we have very specific kit pieces. But look at the word joy. We definitely get one extra. I only see 3 ornament tops, which is interesting. How many? So we do not get extra ornament pieces. We do not get extra tree pieces. But we do get extra labels. 1 extra of each of the labels. And an extra joy. So some extending can happen pretty easily. There are our 3 designs. Extending the kit would probably be, these are so specific. I'll have to go away and do some thinking on how I could either stretch the kit or alter, you know, because the idea is to do alternatives. So I have to explore that. Let's find our artwork. Artwork is going to be on the back here. Okay. Not on the back here. Where did I leave it? I will find it. Maybe I covered it. Well, that's always crazy when I lose things. And I'm just sitting at a table. So where did it go into hiding at? Here it is. I didn't even make it all the way to the bottom. All right, so let's put these pieces off to the side. So regardless of whether you like the big bold patterns, I do think that the velvet that you see in real life makes them unique and fun. So I am okay with that, even if it means it's not as extendable as I would like. So here is our artwork. We've got a nice Merry Christmas that does fit onto that piece, stamped, and you get one extra chance. So remember, you cannot, in this case, stamp on the back side. So I would recommend that you set yourself up as best you can with this piece here in a stamp alignment tool with a door. Tape it down and put this inside. That's going to be your best bet. And perhaps when I come back and we're getting ready to put all this together, I will demonstrate that. I realized something. Yesterday I did have this kit opened. I didn't take off the cellophane, so there is a stamp ink spot floating around on this table somewhere. I'm going to just tell you what color it is. Oh, it is pecan pie. So we've got Merry Christmas, Joy to the World, Deck the Halls. So this to the world goes with this joy, and this to the world actually gets stamped right here. So to make sure that that goes well, I would probably cut an extra piece. And for me, I probably will explore a piece of cherry cobbler, and I will put to the world, and I'll do white embossing. But we'll see. We got some little snowflakes, a star, and then I said deck the halls. So that is it for the kit. We do have, I guess I never really talk about this, but there are these extra embossing, die cut sets that go with the 3 months of kits. So the tag perhaps is for, so it's probably October, November, December. So the tag is for something coming up, the little flowers for something coming up, and the sprigs. Joy is definitely for this month. And my trick is I get them, but I get them when they go on sale. I have enough supplies that I don't need to get them for the kit time. And I also use my kits. Typically this kit would maybe not even be used for this year's Christmas cards. I'm always 1 year behind, and I have a bunch of materials already prepped. And oftentimes, though not this year, I will already have my Christmas cards mostly made by now. I am doing Christmas card classes and making a bunch of kits up, and then kind of like a card buffet, and whatever is left over will become my cards. And those I've already got made. So this kit will probably be for next year, which means I can buy this once it goes on sale after the new year sometime. All right, that's all I've got for any tips and tricks so far. I will go away now and work on materials and supplies, and stay tuned. I will be right back. All right, I am back. I have some supplies to go through, and we're going to get into the mix and matching. So for me, it was how do I take these very large images and break them down to get the most out of the kit. We already know that we have double the bases because you split them and you got front and back, so that's 18 bases, and so there's a lot of room to fill out all of those 18 bases. So that is what I focused on today, was embracing the velvet and the large images and how to cut them down and use them the best way possible to get the most out of them. So the first things first, we did cut the bases in half, as I mentioned, and I have 4 different embossing folders I played with. Not all of them are current. Painted Trees 3D is retired, Snowflake Sky retired, Mini Corrugated and Forever Plaid are current. So here are some embossings that I did on the card bases. And then, of course, you can always use your sanding block. The one that comes to mind right now for me that I would like to show you is I want to see how this trees comes out on the textured. It's almost like an Art Deco style. So I really had a struggle with figuring out my ways to use these giant parts and pieces. So I hope that I will be giving you some good inspiration. That is my goal. So Painted 3D Trees has various heights, so you need to get in with your block to get all of that, and it looks like now it is a snow-covered set of trees. Of course, with this softer color, it probably, when you get layers put on it, it's just going to look like some sort of random embossed. This is done on garden green, but this is done on the white core, and I did both so that I could show you how cool and easy it's going to be to dress up this plaid just by using your sanding block. So this is all tried and true. You guys see this on my channel every month, but I still wanted to show you. The main focus, I think, on this kit for the month isn't so much the tried and true, but the unusual ways that I went about figuring out how to utilize these pieces. So there we've got some embossed, even this snowflake that's like basic beige is on a white core. I have a lot of pink in my pink fluff. So there we have some white accented snowflakes. So there's the embossing bits. I did use some die cuts from other sets, one being a shape that is current. You'll see that in a minute. And I used some letters. So this kit made me dig deep in my stash. I mean, so deep, I haven't used the large letters. I think I bought these used. They are very, very old. And so I think that you could dig through your stash, call your friends, and say, hey, do you guys have the large letters from way back in the day? Or you could say, do you have any letters that are fairly large? Because I think you could, in order to do what I did specifically, these large letters worked the best. But I still think that you could extend the joy doing some of your own thinking outside the box. Now let's look at the envelope really quick. The envelope, you can see I've already got some pieces cut from it. This makes a perfect base, so I have it floating around as a base, and then you still have these pieces that you could do some fun die cuts. Just like I used the pecan pie flap. Again, I wish the flap was the fatter and not the V, but I still made good use of it. Let's talk a little bit about the sentiments. I say that and now I'm looking for the sentiments. We will see how organized I am. This is in the morning. I tend to like to film in the AM, and last night was when I was putting this all together and getting all of the pieces picked out. So this is a stamp alignment tool with a door. Stampin' Up! Used to have one. They don't anymore. So I have a few of them and not the Stamparatus, so I won't be able to demonstrate that. But this is what I was mentioning yesterday. Put your negative pieces in a stamp alignment tool so that you can best align your Merry Christmas. I will tell you that this Merry Christmas, they fit differently in the different spots. So go ahead and pick, whichever. This is right side up. Those are upside down. So you kind of have to move things around. I found that, see, this one doesn't fit in this slot very well, but it does fit in this slot nicely. You'll want to make sure it goes in flat, and then you ink it up and you press it. It's a nice fat font. Saturates the paper, so you definitely want to use an alignment tool if you have one. Same with the Deck the Halls. And then the funny thing is that I don't even know where I set these. I stamped them for you guys to see. So if I find them, they're probably actually, I have a pile of card designs, so you will see them come up when we get to the mix and matching. Some other add-on pieces, there's just taking some foil, taking some trim, make a little bow, because you know we have a giant ornament 2 different ways. So an array of different, I used this earthy, I like because of the nature, kind of the country farmhouse look, I guess that's another way to call it. I did pull some more textury trims. These are all retired. This is actually not even, I think this is a section of trim that came from, it's not even like a stamp, it never was a Stampin' Up! Trim. It's just something in my stash, and it already is a little bow ready to go. So I just used it. I have a use for a punch. This is a 1-inch punch. You could use a 1-inch die, and I will demo that for one of the scenes that I made. Oh, here's the shape that I was playing with. I got this shape from one of the pieces that come in the kit, and this is, first off, if you wanted to get somewhat fancy, Regal Distressed Patterns, I believe, is still current. And I was thinking that these 2 here you could use if you really want to dress up and go with gold. This is a current set, and that over the retired items there is plenty of options. We have, I searched through velvet. So there was some red velvet. I cannot find the red velvet, but I do have a set of velvet. This is from back in 2020, and yes, I do actually keep my numbers, the colors that they are, the year, what catalog it was in, and I liked the cinnamon cider, and even the soft seafoam goes with one of the ornaments, and these are velvet. There's a red and white velvet. I could not find my red and white velvet, so you will see the cinnamon cider used. I think that's the only thing I ended up using. But this is a great one to dig through the stash. I then also pulled plush poinsettia, and here is where I actually cut out some of the holly. You could even cut out these sprigs and intermix them, or you could just use the poinsettia. Let me show you one, but I do have it sitting here. Most of these, and they're so old. This is just so old. 2020, guys. That is 5 years old. So there's a full sheet of that, as well as a poinsettia sheet. So don't be afraid to dig through your stash. I found some letters when I was looking for the large alphabet, which I couldn't even remember if I'd kept or sold it from back in the day. And I found some letters on a strip from Sizzix. They're probably 20 years old. So dig deep on this one, especially if you're like me and you're like, this really isn't my style, but I'm really going to make these work. So I stretched pretty far to make this kit work for me. I have from last year, was it last year or the year before? The One Horse Open Sleigh. So One Horse Open Sleigh has a scene on one side, beautiful blue scene, but it has some lovely reds. You can even go into blue, which I did not go into the blue. I stuck with the green and the red. Here is green. It is Mossy Meadow, but it still does work. Here's a lovely blue if you want to stick with kind of the farmhouse-ish, simple, blocky look. See, these other side are beautiful, but I was looking at these colors. I might have 1 or 2 samples that use these. I just was trying to give you guys options from your stash to consider. Older stuff. '21 Peaceful Prints. All sorts of crazy patterns from Peaceful Prints that are green, garden green, and red. and are fantastic. The other side equally is fantastic. Boughs of Holly. I don't think I used that. Oh, here's a lovely wood grain. This wood grain, fantastic. I have a wood grain here from, I think from Boughs of Holly 2022. So dig in your stash, guys, because you will find all sorts of real red, cherry cobbler, garden green at your disposal. And then one last bit that I use that actually saved me time. I'm doing card classes this year, and I bought this sentiment set. And you'll see throughout that I'm using either the sentiment from the kit or these sentiments. They are thick, chipboardy, very fat, and they also have stickum on the back. So easy peasy. So you'll see these. They are still current. I do not know what they're called. And then a last little bit is I did pull to make a scene. I think you could easily cut your own house. I will show you how to cut your own moon. And I used the clouds. I didn't use this tree style because we already have our trees in velvet that we were given. And then the last thing that you'll see used as an option for stars, if you don't have any little die cut stars that you can just use a yellow to make, which I used crushed curry. Here are some other stars that I have collected over the years that are retired, but I do use them. And then I have a couple techniques. So I want to share with you an old school technique. If you take, we have this white that has the snowfall on it, and then you take paper, scraps is what I used from cutouts. You can actually tear paper. I'll show you my technique. You take it and you pull toward you. The one on the left in your left hand is going to be the one that has this lovely rough edge. Then you have a smooth edge, and you can choose which edge that you want. Then you simply layer them up. You make a little scene. I will then do some demonstrating what those scenes look like all built up. And then because we already have a die cut piece in the kit that has these cut corners, here is what it looks like all cut out. So sequins, little bling. I'm just going to use these when the time comes. I'll pop off 3 of these, and then the other bling I used were the stars. And I have to pause to grab something, and then we will get into the mix and matching, and then if any other supplies come up, I will share them with you when they pop up. All right, I am back. So taking the tear technique to the next level, I want to show you what it looks like. I have my piece that's die cut. I actually cut these all in a layer, and it was a little bit on the rough side to get them all cut perfectly. And then you'll also see that there's a little bit of glimmer along the edges, and you might say, oh yeah, I know how to do that. It is very simple. You use stickles. There was a product at one time, a glimmer glue, that Stampin' Up! Had, and if you have that, that works as well. These come in a bazillion colors. So here's a little scene. It's a little bit rough because I didn't get the stickles all the way dry. And I did the stickles first and then cut these. I recommend that you get everything cut, you get your scene made, then you cut your you put your stickles on at the end, not like I did it in reverse, and then let it sit to dry. I tried to heat gun dry it, and that is why now it's a little bit messy. But I did want to show you what it looked like. So then you have your little scene. I hear Lucky. We'll see if Lucky decides to come visit us. And I am going to grab from my pile here my really rough scene that I made. So the first element we're going to look at are the trees that you get multiple pieces, and it's 3 pieces that build a tree. So let's take out this piece. So the other thing is, you'll see this cut out here. Save your negatives as you pull everything out. I ended up wanting to match this white. This white actually goes with the kit, and I needed a cloud, so I made the cloud from this little corner that I cut off. So we have 3 little velvety bits that stack tall to make a tree. And I took those, and I'm like, those are just way too many pieces. I want to turn it into more trees. How do I do that? So how I turned it into more trees is I cut them apart. I left this 3-up tree as its own tree. And then I went ahead and just cut into pieces. I actually left the 5, and I took my paper cutter and I just cut along the top. You will see that as its own piece. I left that as its own piece. I cut and trimmed across the top, and then I separated the 3 from the 4, and I cut the 4 into individuals. And somewhere here I have some math for you. So that gives us 2 4-up singles, 3 double row trees, 3 in a line, that's the top row. So 4 singles times 2, so that's 8 single trees. 2 rows of 3, and 3 of the 5. So mixing and matching all of that, you can get way more all in the end than you can get by stacking these and just making one giant tree and a very, very simple card. So now I will show you throughout our demo the different places you'll see these green little tree sprigs. And here is the first one. So this is a house from that Sizzix die, and I cut out crushed curry to make the windows. This is such a simple shape that I think with the finger tool that you hold like this, and it's a swivel, 360-degree swivel. You would use regular scissors to cut the outside of this building, and then you could just cut out using this tool random windows. You don't even have to make them lined up that neatly. And then all I did for the bottom here, that is taking a Sharpie and coloring it black on top of the yellow. So this is just a very simple house. So I went ahead and did my scene. This scene, I did not use the snow at the bottom, at the top, and I did not use the stickles. I was just mocking up the idea. I did use the 3D stars. I had not at that point cut out the stars from the house. So you make little pockets, and then you tuck in your little tree elements. I used the same matching, and you can use any nested dies for any shape. I only picked this shape because it goes with, and you'll see it here soon, the basic beige larger version is one of the cuts of the card backgrounds that you get. That's the only reason why I picked this shape. I think you could make do with any shape that you have. Again, I told you I was going to be using the little sentiments with the gold. So there's my scene. This house isn't popped down yet because I might use it. And so now as we're building up our layers, this green is not from the kit, by the way. It's from one of those old, I think it was the Deer Prince one that's from, I don't know, 2020. So you can see the country flavor. And then I just am building up, and this would be my basic card. And then I already pulled off, you could have your little bow. And if you wanted to keep with the country theme, I'm just going to run over because I have these really cool dots that I just got. But they have pecan pie, they have a country red, and they are called earthy matte dots. So let's break them in. Boy, what color do we want to use? You know, I could just pick for today. You could have a second message here. Oops. Oh, you could even do jaunty angles if you don't want to have it all straight. It does not matter. So I'm gonna... Oops. I didn't take off the backing, so let's get that backing off. Once I get the backing off, these become way easier to manipulate when we do our mix and matching. And my tactic with this kit, because it isn't my style, was what would I need to do to make this kit something that I could use? So what you're seeing are designs that I do intend to turn into cards. All right, so we have from our house to yours, we have a lighted house. So I did want to show you that actually this white space down here, I was thinking would be something like that. Let's take and put this back straight so I can make sure I show you it fully done. Oop, oop, oop. Oh, look at our house lost its door. Let's get it back tall. All right, so there's all sorts of different ways to decorate that scene. So I wanted to do just a couple more. For you to see. You could even say we're going to get rid of that. We are going to go with a completely different style here. Let's get rid of these dots because I want to see how our sequins that we were provided, because we have some gold, gotta keep these dots in line. And then last but not least, oh, that's a full size. I did not trim that one down. And I'm looking for, I thought I had that trimmed down. All right, so that is that one. Okay, we're still working on the trees. I want to show you this cute little scene. This was from the flap. I took apart and cut up a red card base. I made the moon from my 1-inch hole punch, punched it twice. And those are the stars that are from the Holtz die set. But you can use the stars, any stars you can find. All right, so we have our little scene. I'm just going to take the plaid. Uh-oh, Hub is in. I'm going to pause. Sorry about that. Hub walked in the door. He didn't know I was filming, and I I didn't have my door closed. All right, so this is the cloud from the Holtz set. You could use your finger cutter and cut out your own cloud. You can use die cuts, whatever you need to do to get those, get a cloud shape. I have this musical notes. I'm just grabbing it because I'll get a nice earthy layer. And then I've got those dots that I showed you. If you even wanted to do some blue, there's a nice country blue, and you could add a blue background. I am going to grab red. And there, so there's that scene using the single line of trees. And if I take it off, I want you to see that this is literally, that's how I left it. And you can make any number of layouts. You could decide you needed to go vertical. All right, so that, I better recover these. Need the sequins. Okay, next use. Let's use the 5-up. So here's my 5-up. And this is where I had said I used, I did use the velvet. This is cinnamon cider, but it's pretty close to pecan pie. I'm going to cover up the bottom fringe of my trees because I want them to look just basic tree-like. The raffia bow. If we wanted to use dots, I would say more red dots. And this, aside from the gold, you could use the sequins if you wanted, but I would be more inclined to go with the matte dots. Pretty much any sentiment. There's one sentiment. There's another sentiment. If you wanted to this secondary little tiny sentiment, it's so cute. You could add a bow with the double texture. All right. Okay, so now I hadn't had the sequins yet. You could go all old-fashioned. That's a little sequin. Little sequin. Oh, maybe the big one will be in the center. So I just thought that was so cute and very old-fashioned-y looking. And we have a couple of different bow styles. You could build up your layers more. You could use different colors if you wanted. The let's see what happens if I put that. And I will be turning this. Someday I'm going to get faster at this, doing these layouts. There's nothing that says that we can't do this as the mat. So as long as you can get your elements broken up, these very large elements, you can get a lot of cards out of this kit. All right, and just for fun, you only have 3 of these toppers, so I have 6 ornaments now, which means I needed to come up with an alternative. All right, so there's that. That finally uses up all of our tree pieces. Now we have you could do your little topper, and then the sentiment can be up in the upper part, overlapping. I think I did "'Tis the Season," and I had it be up at the top, and sticking with the country theme. There's one way to do that one. I can't really use the trees, but I could. Keep it very country. I'm going to pause because I want to find my sentiments that I stamped last night. All right, I found them. So here is the sentiment. That I stamped using our stamp alignment tool. Very simple. And then I have a Deck the Halls version here. almost wonder. Let's try vertical. And but I really wanted to show it on red, so I would of course pop up the deck the halls, and then I definitely want to show this on red as a really simple matte finish without I just really think that that is a great look. If you wanted, I was just curious, I do have, this is an old wood grain. All right, so there's that one. Bright, and we could switch this to gold. Now that I say I won't have enough elements, it looks like I just might. We'll see how it ends up. Just like that. And if I had gold, which I have no gold, I would be putting gold sequins or gold dots. All right, so last design for us to work with. This was so challenging. I considered making these Christmas trees, cutting this out, cutting all of these out, and I thought, you know, I did that all with the Christmas tree bits. I'm going to leave this ornament as is and try to work with it. And I was able to do that. Okay, so the very last thing. We have joy. So this has these little red sprays, and then we also have to work with, from the other sheet, we have 2 holly and a sprig. Okay, so that's what we're working with now. This will be our last challenge. So the joy, and I actually will tell you, I have not done anything I'm going to pause really quick. All right, so we have this joy. This is like a backdrop. And then there's these letters that line up perfectly. And you're supposed to add a sentiment here. I'm just grabbing a random sentiment. So, a couple of different options. That's the way it's supposed to be used. So, I took away these letters. I haven't even done anything with those letters. So, we'll see if I can come up with something when we are done. And I took this apart. I took away the red elements. And now they're mowing. I'm going to pause while they mow. All right, well, they decided they needed to mow right while I was trying to talk. So the mowers have gone by. I talked about cutting off the, probably poinsettias is what they're supposed to be. And what I did is I cut them into little pieces and I have popped them up. The holly and the sprig I have separated. And so then I took this word joy. I had already found the large letters. I have this extra special. When you cut out words, try to make them into a word and line them up so that you can then make a negative. So I have this extra piece I'll do something with and make into a card. And don't forget to keep your middle. So we're just going to throw that on something here. I've got this lovely, and I cut this out with our paper. All right, that's a bonus. I wasn't planning on that. All right. And I am going to change to red. And I think the sequins would look cute. Probably the big sequin there and a little sequin out here. All right, so there is using the letters that we were provided in the kit. There you have it. That is my way of using the background of the word joy. And then again, the actual letters I can use on a little snowy scene. And that is the grand finale, folks. I hope I have done this kit justice and that you get inspiration. If you are challenged like I was, you are inspired by my ideas and will go digging through your stash. Don't forget about your card making friends. When we're looking at this stuff as old as my stuff is that I brought out for this, call your friends, say, hey, I've got this kit. You need to get some pieces. Do you have anything like X, Y, or Z? And then see what they come up with. So everybody take care. Do all the YouTube things, like, share, comment, consider subscribing. Let me know your thoughts on this kit and if you struggled like I have struggled. And I will see you all next month. Everyone take care. And I'll see you all then.